Hi, welcome to my workshop. This is another update on this sculpture that I'm undertaking. So we'll start on the other side, I think. Start on this side. You've probably seen this, not quite in this form, but quite close to it, I think. So it's got this double spiral shape, and I'm feeling pretty happy with this, and it's at a stage when I'm ready I can do a finish on it, get it all sanded up, get it smooth. You can see that there are these patches of these dark areas that continue to come out of the wood. I think it's a band of volatile chemicals of some sort, because it smells quite strongly of cedar, which is what I think the wood is. And I'm hoping that will just keep happening to a point when I get it all sanded up and it's all nice and smooth and I decide what finish to put on it. So this side, it's not perfect, it's not finished. It fails the marble test. I'll show you the marble test. But any self-respecting spiral, you'd expect a marble, if you put it on it and give it a little push, that it will make its way down. So that it will on the smaller one. On the larger one, it kind of, it did that time, but it risks getting stuck. If I do it more slowly, you'll see the problem. Get stuck about there because there's a little bit of an uphill there, so I need to smooth that out. But I will do that in the fullness of time. But otherwise, I'm very happy with it. I really like the way the grain is coming up. And it is adhering to one of the principles that you may remember that I started out with for this sculpture, which is that there is a band here which is roughly 50% of the depth of the wood, which remains intact throughout. So there's a kind of ring all around the outside, and I intend to keep that unless something happens that means I decide not to. You can never tell with these things quite what's going to happen. Okay, because sometimes the best intentions become just the opposite of what you decide you'll do in the end. So on this side's been a bit of a puzzle. I've got this section here that kind of goes right through to the other side. That's where the marble was coming out from. I've started cutting in here, and essentially I'm intending to make these two openings similar, not identical, but very similar in shape, mirror images of each other clearly, along a centre line, which you can see I've got marked there. It's kind of come off here. It's still a bit at the top. It's chiseled away there, that bit. But with the bit at the top and the bit at the bottom, that's actually enough to keep remarking it if I need to. So what more can I say? I've got to watch these three holes here, 1, 2, 3. You may or may not remember that those were the holes where I screwed in the faceplate with which I attached this piece of wood to the lathe when I wanted to get this part really smooth. So we'll see what happens with that. I'm not going to over worry about them. They'll either come out because I'll take the wood deep enough in, or they won't, in which case there'll be holes, and probably I will fill them with something before I get to a final stage. So I continue to be a little bemused by this side, but you can probably see what I'm working on is this as effectively a nose. It has that look about it to me. I mean, not a particularly human nose. It looks more like, I don't know, a raging bull or a lion with its nostrils flared or something. It looks like an animal that has a naturally broad nose, and when it flares its nostrils to take in lots of air because it's exerting itself, or to look scary, it will have this kind of a shape. It won't be quite like this. So that's kind of what I'm working on. Now obviously if you've got a nose down here, you can't create a whole face, but what you can do is probably get in a couple of eyes. So that's kind of what I'm working on. And I put it that way, I'm kind of working on it, because at this point I don't feel like I've totally committed to it, and if something else emerges then I'm willing to look at it. But somehow it seems a natural way to take this, just coming out of this first hole that I had, and my instinct to put a mirror image one there. And we still have this funny little flat area here, which is actually has always been there because it's where the bark came to on the original piece of wood. And I could have taken the whole thing down by another ½ an inch and that would have disappeared, but it's kind of, I like it, and it has some really nice, interesting, fine graining around it, whereas most of the graining on the whole piece of wood is very coarse, in the sense that the layers are a long way apart, but here they come quite close together. So my instinct is just to keep it and to leave it and see how it looks when everything else is probably as close to where it's going to be as I want it to be. So I'll leave that. I'm going to work on this area because clearly its noses aren't flat things. You can see they have some depth to them. They stick out so you can get lots of air easily. I think that's the design purpose. And obviously I can't make the nose come bigger, stick out more that way, so the only thing I can do is to take this down further. So that's what I will continue to do, but of course I have to maintain my commitment to this ring. So you can see on this side I've actually cut quite close to the ring to give myself a sense of how far it can go. But there's no reason why some or all of this area, if it is becoming a face, can't drop below here. There's masses of depth of wood, plenty of wood, except where at the back there I have to be a bit careful where it goes through in the hole. It gets a little bit thinner there. I mean, there is about that deep, so I have to be a little bit, I'm just mindful of that. But I could take another certainly centimetre out of that without any concerns at all. And I think I need that. I need more depth here in order to be able to get the kind of three-dimensionality of this, if it is indeed becoming a face, which is what it feels like it's doing. And I kind of, while I'm thinking about that, I have in mind that it may be more a mask. It's not going to be certainly a representational face of anything or anyone, but I may be able to bring it into a kind of more mask-like structure, which typically will be a bit exaggerated, some of the features a bit exaggerated and simplified, because we're only really going to have 2 eyes and a nose. Okay, so that's where I've got to for now. So I will continue along those lines. I'll talk to you again.